friends, I'm Dee, about to react to this video by Blackie Speaks. It's titled Latto Disses Nicki Minaj Again. Girl, give it up, Latto. Give it up. This beef is tired, it's old. Let it go. What are you saying now? Nobody cares. And continuing to have this beef with Nicki of all people, it's just not the smartest thing in the world for you to do. I don't get it, but sure, let's see what she said.
No, Latto, this is Nicki Minaj. Gotta talk about this one. Now, Latto has been doing sensational. If you guys don't know about the recent success Latto has been seeing, she was recently featured on a song by Jungkook, who's a BTS member, on this record called Seven.
That
song
is
is hit #1 on Billboard, and it's a very big moment for Latto. She has a lot of momentum right now, so I definitely want to take the time to salute her for the great work she's putting in. Now, aside from all the great work she's putting in, Latto is also on a suicide mission, man. All jokes aside, if you guys don't know what's going on, to put it simply, she dissed Nicki, and she did so by doing a gesture that implied that Nicki is a cokehead. That's not a joke. It actually happened.
She thought I would kiss her ass. She must have took her meds.
So the clip you just saw, let me describe it if you're not looking at the screen. Latto was performing her song, Put It On The Flow, okay, which dropped a few weeks back. On that song, she has a line where she says, she thought I would kiss her ass, she must ain't took her meds. And as she was saying that line, she did, you know, the coke sign, like, you know, when a cokehead is like, you got some coke, on my Patreon. Like, you do like that little sniff, right? Wipe a nigga nose type shit. Now, how is that connected to Nicki? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. By the way, it was never a secret that that particular line was about Nicki even when the song dropped. However, now with this clip right here, we can of course confirm that it was about Nicki 8,000%. So there's no doubt about that now. Also, there was another line on the song where she says she got a problem. Imaginary smoke. This is of course a reference to Nicki's record, Do We Have a Problem, featuring Lil Baby. So that bar right there, along with the other one, are both a direct shot at Nicki Minaj. This entire beef, of course, stemmed from what happened over 10 months ago when they had that Twitter feud where Nicki was
10 long months ago, girl. Let it go.
Versus super freaky girl situation. I've spoken about that a couple of times. Won't go over that right now. Latto fired back, Nicki fired back, Latto fired back, Nicki fired back, and they kept going for a little minute. Ever since then, things have been pretty quiet. Nicki's doing her thing, working the Ice Spice machine. I see you, Nicki, I see you. She's also gearing up towards dropping her forthcoming project, Pink Friday, which is dropping in November. It was announced recently. Nicki has kind of just been doing her thing right now. She's minding her business. The Barbs are, of course, like always, they're always on demon time, sniping any and everybody who tries to come for her. Must feel good to have a fan base that's that protective. I wish my people were fighting for me like that, but I'm a grown-ass man and I can handle my own battle. So I digress. So Latto actually took jabs at Nicki on that Put It On The Flow song. And I remember listening to the song when it dropped. By the way, it's a great record. I like it. But I remember listening to it and I, of course, knew that it was about Nicki. I mean, come on. Everybody knew that it was about Nicki. Part of me felt like Nicki was going to respond. And then another part of me was like, wait a second. Nicki responded to this. I mean, it's a good song, but took her meds. You know, that's not a crazy diss at all. That's really just basic. She was essentially saying, hey, Nicki, you thought I was going to kiss your ass. Well, you got me fucked up. Your head's not right, so clearly you haven't taken your meds, right? So the line is very straightforward and barely scratched the surface, to be honest with you. I just feel like if you're gonna come for Nicki, you gotta go a little harder, Latto. Come on now.
Best not miss.
That's how this line is connected.
I feel like Nicki
and I'm so surprised people still haven't connected it, especially since, you know, she did the coke gesture. So last year, Nicki Minaj ended up filing this defamation lawsuit against a blogger by the name of, I believe it was Noisy. This blogger allegedly went on their platform and made some statements about Nicki Minaj. One of those statements was that Nicki was a cokehead. Minaj is shoving in all this cocaine up her nose, allegedly.
Allegedly, no.
Allegedly. But we all know it's true. You can't say we all know it's true and then allegedly.
Right.
Listen, I can't even say allegedly with that because I know we know it's true. I'm not saying allegedly on that. Nicki Minaj is a cokehead. This person reiterated. See, this person should have been paying attention to what happened to Tasha.
Allegedly, but it's true.
Comments about Nicki's 1-year-old son saying some things like, I'll showcase that on the screen right now since I'm not trying to talk too much about that, honestly. Nicki didn't waste no time and had her legal team file a $75,000 defamation lawsuit against the blogger. Now, these rumors about Nicki being a cokehead ended ended up spreading on the internet pretty fast, by the way. So they're obviously somewhat damaging to her reputation. And by the way, just to make it abundantly clear, and by the way, yeah, I do sound different because it's the day after. Anyway, there's absolutely no validity to these claims. This was defamation. This person was out to get Nicki, and so they made these claims. And I say this because a lot of people have been weaponizing this against Nicki, and I don't think it's fair, right? I gotta know the difference between when a crazy person makes claims and then something that's actually.
And I probably also believed it because she talked about
facts. So that's how that line, along with the coke gesture, is connected to Nicki. Obviously, it's a clear shot, and you know, like I said earlier, I thought Nicki was gonna respond, but it got me thinking: does Nicki Minaj have anything to gain from beefing with Latto? I mean, the only reason why they got into it last time is because Nicki was calling out the Grammys during that Twitter feud. So that beef wasn't really even about Latto as much as people like to say that it was. So I don't think Nicki has all that much to gain. However, Latto, of course, does because it's Nicki Minaj. One response from Nicki is going to lead to so much exposure towards Latto, especially if it was on wax. Even though Latto's very successful, the reality is she's not really that big if you think about it. In comparison to Nicki, at least, you know, Nicki is a global superstar. She's known in every part of the world. Latto is just now getting her foot in the mainstream. And I'm sure she's going to continue to do well, but between Latto and Nicki, you know, first of all, Latto was born when Nicki was 16 years old. So Nicki's been doing this music shit for a long time, you know, so the gap is pretty damn hefty. I might be wrong, and maybe I'm gonna have to eat my words later, but I don't think Latto stands a chance against Nicki, man. I mean, Nicki's a shark, bro, and Latto is the tuna. She gonna get ate. Those things usually can be in the vicinity of each other, because the shark gonna eat the tuna like it's nothing. In other words, if Nicki did respond, I'm not sure how things would end for Latto. It's one thing to drop a bar here and there, and it's one thing to throw subs on social media, but it's another thing to go toe-to-toe with an MC like Nicki Minaj. Obviously, Nicki responding to Latto would benefit the industry because, like we've spoken about in the past, rappers like Latto are made by the industry. They monetarily feed into the industry, while Nicki, on the other hand, doesn't. Number one, because of the type of contract she signed early on in her career, and also Nicki created herself and then made it into the industry. That's the distinction between a Latto and a Nicki Minaj. Another thing that's relevant to bring up, this applies to all forms of entertainment, by the way, but especially music. A lot of times when you have a person who's an entity, like in this case Nicki, and they stay dominating for a long time, and they stay being the highlight for a long time, because in with the new and out with the old is a natural cycle in any industry. When you have someone like Nicki who stays dominating no matter how many women in the music industry, you know, they try to bring in to replace her, that's what we call a break in the pattern. Now that's indicative of the kind of impact Nicki has, and since she doesn't feed into the industry's pockets, there's a lot of incentive to want to get her out of here. If you want to hear more about this, check out my Why the Industry Hates Nicki Minaj video I dropped almost 2 weeks ago, where I dive very deep into this. Link to that video will be in the description below, and I'll also put it at the end of this video so you can watch it right after this one. How is that relevant to female rappers? Well, if Nicki is always the focal point of female rap, well then people like Latto won't have a seat at the podium. I mean, the industry has been trying to replace Nicki with Cardi for how long? Since Cardi B came out. How's that going? It ain't working. Not very well, right? So the point I'm trying to make is there's a huge incentive to try to pin someone like Latto against Nicki, aside from the fact that the conflict makes money. I mean, imagine if Nicki took the bait. That's a huge W for Latto. Just imagine the headline: Nicki Minaj responds to rapper Latto. Now that would be the best promo that Latto could possibly get, which is why I'm so adamant about the fact that I don't think Nicki should entertain the beef. With that being said, I'll say this: a full-on beef, not a Twitter feud, just a full-on beef does sound pretty enticing. Anyway, Latto disses Nicki Minaj. We talked about how that line, along with the coke gesture, was connected to Nicki herself. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I just feel like she needs to stop at this point. Like, you thinking that this is going to benefit you is not. I don't know why your team is not advising you better on this, but I just think it's so dumb. Even as far as, like, having connections in the industry, like, Nicki is obviously way more connected than Latto is, so making her your biggest op is just dumb. Y'all already got into it on Twitter. Leave it at that. Let it be done. And then you drop this song where you're referencing her. Cool. And that song is doing really well, even, you know, especially after Cardi hopped on it. Doing really well. People really fuck with it. I even like it. When I first heard it with just Latto, I was like, I was kind of on the fence. But when Cardi hopped on it, I was like, oh, I fucks with this. And I kept listening to it, and I really fucked with that song. Great song. But girl, what is the point? And you keep taking shots at her. You think this is going to end well for you? I don't think it is. I feel like Nicki, of course, will take shots at her on her album. She's not going to like call her out directly because she doesn't want to give Latto more free clout off of her name, I'm sure. But she's definitely going to take some shots at her. I can't wait. I'm ready for it. But yeah, Latto, stop. I don't get it. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.